Every single big moment in my life that completely changed the trajectory of it was caused by a single conversation. Some of those conversations were with myself, what I wanted to do, but a lot of those involved other people, and in instances in which I didn't plan. They're strange occurrences, strange encounters with strangers in which I just really got to think about life differently. So yesterday morning, I went down to grab a cup of coffee from the coffee maker in our apartment lobby, and there was a woman there with her daughter, and they were talking about how an Amazon driver was trying to get into our building and they couldn't figure it out, and she was just getting a little frustrated. And then she went to go put creamer in her coffee while I was making mine, and she looked over at my arm, which has my guts tattoo, my berserk guts tattoo, and she said, "What's the meaning behind your tattoo?" And I told her a little bit about where it was from. Berserk, it's a Japanese comic, and the main character, he goes through a lot of suffering, and it kind of just represents him persevering through suffering, and his destiny seems to be one of the rest of his life being just catastrophically bad and chaos and torture, but he decides to struggle through it all. And she must have really resonated with that because it allowed her to completely open up about her life story, which was absolutely crazy. So she was born in Africa, and then at a young age, she moved to India. Her father committed suicide when she was just 4 years old. She won Miss Femina India, I think it's called, and then she later had her award retracted from her for reasons she didn't explain. She then moved to America. She had 3 different husbands, and now she's a single mother with 3 children. And throughout this time, she was a very strong believer in Hinduism. That's what she grew up in because she is Indian. And 6 months ago, she talked about how she had this experience with finding Jesus, like literally seeing Jesus Christ. So she was in church and she was asking God what she should be doing because she's gone through all of these different ups and downs in life, kind of like the character Guts. And she also told me she's heard voices within her since she was 4 years old. Which really, I mean, a lot of people don't possess that ability. It was really cool to hear. And while she was in church and asking God what she should do, she said she got hit with a wave of wind, which pushed her back into a seat, and her hand was like this. And she remembers feeling the touch of Jesus Christ, of Jesus, on her hand. And then she saw Jesus. She described him wearing all whites and having blue eyes. I don't remember if she said he had long hair or not. But that eventually, all those experiences, she's been very connected to her spiritual side, and yet she graduated with a degree in biology. She said she's very logical about things, but ever since that experience, she has had so much peace in her life. And it's crazy because I have just recently been starting to pray every night before bed to whatever it is that lies out there. I'm not sure what it is. I talked about God a little bit in my thoughts on what I think God is, what universal intelligence is. And then just a few days later, I have this experience where I meet this person who is so connected to the divine, whatever we want to call it. And it's just man, things like that, when they happen, it really does change your trajectory of at least that day. But after I had that conversation, the rest of the day, I just felt very energized. It's like whatever energy she had from whatever she's been experiencing, and she explained it to me, it did affect me. Because as humans, we all are affected by each other's energy, by the people we spend the most time around with, even if we're not even speaking words to these people, there's unseen connections in between us. And this is proven by science. It's not some type of woo-woo shit. I mean, we do pick up on energies of the people we are surrounded with most. And words, when paired with people, the words they say and you say back to them are going to greatly influence the energy that you feel. And that ultimately affects what you're going to do for the rest of the day and could affect what you're going to do for the rest of your life. There's so many instances of people explaining just one moment where they met somebody who might have later become their mentor, who might have been the networking connection that they needed to eventually have a successful business, to completely change their perspective on a sort of philosophy on life, or just a person who really motivated them to take that risk, to make that decision that they were putting off, that they knew they needed to start the project that they had doubts around. And that all started with a single conversation. A lot of people now don't open themselves up to the possibility of having more conversations. We have our heads down. I'm going to sound like a boomer here. Oh well. We have our heads down looking at our phones as we're walking by people constantly. We don't make as much eye contact as I am assuming we used to before digital devices took over our attention. Maybe just because of what we see online, it will heavily affect the energy we put out to other people and how we view other people, which might be very negative. And then we put our hood up and we just say, well, screw the rest of the world. I'm going to remain as closed as possible so random people don't try to come up to me and start small talk with me because I don't want to deal with that. Well, every time you're closing yourself off, and it is okay to close yourself off from that sometimes, every time you're doing that, you are limiting the amount of opportunities you have to experience an entirely new reality that could completely change how you feel. And I do this too. Like, I will close myself off when I feel really awful in a certain day. You know, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to stay inside, and that's fine. But I used to do this a lot, even out in public, without having any bad sleep or tiredness or low energy. And I just didn't want to put out the energy of, come and talk to me. I'm open to listening to you. I am receptive to your needs or whatever whatever lessons you want to teach me. It is so important that you look at other people, that you listen. You genuinely listen to what they're saying, and you're genuinely interested in what they're saying too. And the perspective you need in order to give off that energy is something I've talked about a long time ago, a couple of years ago now, in the Mindset That Makes You Socially Attractive video. It's the idea that every single person you're passing by on a regular basis has their own reality. We all occupy the same sort of objective reality. We can all look at a table and say, yes, that's a table. But what that table looks like to us is going to be different for every single one of us. For a child, it might look like a place to jump on top of and play with their toys on. For other people, it might look like, oh, this is a good table to do work on. That's what I mean when there's the subjectivity of things on top of objective objects. And so everybody has their own subjective sort of reality where they can hear things, see things, smell things, touch things that are different from yours, and they're giving you the opportunity to peer into what their reality looks like. And how incredible is that? How incredible that I had the opportunity to be open to this woman's amazing story about her life. Whether it was inaccurate or not, I honestly believe what she's saying, because I think some people just possess that ability. And it's because I was so curious about what's in your reality. What's lying here? What kind of quirks do you have? What kind of stories do you have that could potentially change my entire outlook on my day, my month, or my year? Every person, no matter if they're a kid or an old person or someone maybe you look at and you say, I don't even like the look of that person. They have something within their reality that they can show you. And that curiosity paired with the perspective of this is an opportunity to see this person's reality and see my reality widen because of it. And this is why people, when they travel, their worldview and their opinions and their beliefs expand because they're experiencing a country in which the notions and the religions and the daily lifestyle is so different. It's like I didn't even realize life could be like that. So every chance you have to talk with just a person is like a mini traveling abroad experience. You're traveling abroad into another person's reality. That's pretty fucking sick. It's pretty cool. And that's how I try to think of conversations most of the time. I'm not always thinking that way, but I try to remind myself of what I've just told you in this video. Every conversation has the potential to change your life. So be more receptive to people wanting to talk to you. Be more open with your energy. Look up at people, smile. Not everyone else is going to be receptive back. That's fine. But you're going to have more opportunities to have this experience of peering into someone else's reality. And when you continue to expand your reality to have more people's experience occupy it, that's when you really start to figure out, what is it I want to do in this life? What does this life mean to me? What do I want to dedicate my time towards? And what type of potential do I really have? Those are the conversations I'm trying to produce more in my life as well as in my online community. If you don't know about my online community, it's called Self-Mastery School. Every weekend we meet in a coaching call to discuss things similar to this video, things that are related to our biggest struggles, what we're trying to achieve in this life, our progress, what's stopping us. It's one of the most fulfilling things I've ever created, and everyone in that community has now become a friend of mine. And I would love it if you wanted to join as well. I'm currently running a Black Friday deal on the community where you can get 30% off and you just pay once and then you have access to the community forever. It's not a subscription-based thing. I'll give you 30% off. The code is going to be Friday on my website. You just use that at checkout and you can join our community. If you want to learn more about it, go to the first link in the description. That is where you actually join anyway, and it'll tell you more about what's offered in there, the type of resources that are in there as well, because I also have my self-mastery course, which really teaches you about yourself, increases your self-awareness, gets you all the tools you need to change habits in your life. So if you want a place to meet with like-minded people who are trying to improve themselves, which is quite hard to find in real life, then go to the link in the description and 30% off by using the code Friday. And that will be going on for the rest of the weekend, maybe Monday. We'll see. The next few days for when this video's out. All right. Thank you guys.